Adam Back is now publicly questioning Michael Saylor's statements and is talking about how, for the first time in 16 years, Bitcoin could be facing a massive turning point. The whole thing is being hotly debated right now and is hitting like a bomb. Wow, crazy! The US government is also talking about a dramatic paradigm shift that's coming our way. And now hold on tight, we have some major advisors here who are now pitching Bitcoin. We're also seeing another flood of capital, amounting to several trillions, that's now rolling in, and this is even being confirmed. Let's take a look at what this is all about, because if more and more advisors are pitching Bitcoin, it's obvious that Bitcoin is becoming more and more mainstream. You shouldn't underestimate that in Europe and so on. Or maybe people underestimate what these American advisors are actually capable of. And now we have the next big analysts who are predicting a Bitcoin price of up to 500,000 US dollars. Guys, it's absolutely insane what's happening here. Smash the like button below for new all-time highs, for higher Bitcoin prices, for freedom, for love, for peace, for a better world with sound money. Everyone, hit the like button down below right now. And now let's take a look at all of this, okay? We've seen Bitcoin trading above $110,000 here for more than 11 days now. And yeah, it does feel a bit boring. The Bitcoin price has now traded up to new levels, but has now reached a kind of plateau or something like that again. I don't know. So it's not like we're seeing Bitcoin shoot up massively or anything. It seems like we make a move every now and then it goes sideways again, with small corrections and so on. We've been seeing this not just for a week or two, but for months now. And the whole thing is boring, and I get that a lot of people just aren't interested, and a lot of people tune out here and just go off to eat bratwurst or play PlayStation, and end up missing all of this. I totally get it, but we also have to realize that this is actually a very, very healthy movement. Sure, all the headlines, Bitcoin breaks out, crash breaks out, crash breaks out. That's volatility, of course. Personally, I actually prefer that too, but if we're being honest, what's healthier here is a slow progression, low volatility, and stability and anti-fragility in the system. And now comes the real kicker. Michael Saylor's statements are now being questioned here by Bitcoin OG Adam Back himself, who was even mentioned by Satoshi Nakamoto in the white paper. And you all know the saying, there is no second best. There is no second best. Bitcoin has been the best performing asset of the last 16 years. But this could now change dramatically. Guys, check this out. Here's the news. Legendary OG Bitcoiner Adam Back says that treasury companies are the next big thing after Bitcoin. Here we also see Adam Back posting, there is no second best. Only runner-up is treasury companies. So now there's actually something that can compete with Bitcoin. Whether it's really better now, I don't know, or if that's what he meant by that statement, but in any case, he can connect it to Bitcoin. For a long time, there was just Bitcoin, then there was a long gap, and then nothing else came along. And now there are these treasury companies, which definitely have certain advantages. Well, that was bad German, but they definitely have some advantages here. And it's really, really important. Even with the treasury companies, you have to be careful because there's a risk here again. That means the lowest risk you can have is simply Bitcoin. That's why, in my opinion, the saying still holds true. There is no second best, Bitcoin. But then we also have these interesting treasury companies. And Adam Back himself is involved in treasury companies. He's just launched one himself. You have to wrap your head around this. A Bitcoin OG who just acquired 30,000 Bitcoin with his company is now taking those 30,000 Bitcoin and putting them into a new treasury company because he sees massive opportunities here. And it's simply a new window of opportunity that's opening up right now. At the event I attended this weekend, we talked a lot about treasury companies and their potential. Right now, it's kind of like being able to buy Bitcoin at $2, $3, or $4 again, pretty early on. But here, you don't get those OG values, like censorship resistance, for example. You also don't have the option to hold Bitcoin in self-custody here, and so on. There are simply certain risks here, like CEO risk and so on. But on the other hand, there are also massive opportunities. And I definitely don't want to put a large part of my portfolio into treasury companies. Not at all. But there's always a small part of every portfolio that's meant for risk, which maybe in the past I used to gamble with altcoins. And of course, this risk portion is also very attractive to shift into treasury companies now. At the same time, you also have to say that there are a lot of players who can't invest in Bitcoin at all. And that was actually the original idea behind treasury companies, that these pools of capital are stuck. And now these pools can flow into Bitcoin through these treasury companies. And we also spent a lot of time over the weekend philosophizing about just how big these pools are. It could be anywhere between 50 and 200 trillion. It's really difficult to clarify this with exact numbers. How do you say? To break it down clearly, But it should be clear to everyone that massive trillions are waiting on the sidelines, ready to flow into Bitcoin as soon as the floodgates open, and that will push the Bitcoin price up. But this will also lead to disproportionate returns for the treasury companies, as we're already seeing. The treasury companies, Michael Saylor, and so on with MicroStrategy, are performing much better than MicroStrategy itself. Michael Saylor himself says, the only thing better than Bitcoin is even more Bitcoin. That is, Bitcoin with leverage. Although, as always, nothing said here is investment advice. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you think a paradigm shift is coming our way. Because now even the US government, or rather the US Subcommittee for Digital Assets, is saying about the Genius Act that this will unlock a huge amount in the Bitcoin and crypto market. It will be a dramatic paradigm shift, and that's just crazy. And yes, it will be a paradigm shift. The treasury companies are in paradigms. Paradigm shifts. The ETFs were also part of a paradigm shift, with Wall Street being included here. That means we're seeing more and more of these paradigm shifts, and for a really long time, Bitcoin just developed on its own. Just like that. Sometimes nobody even cared about it. Now all the big players are getting interested, and the treasury companies are, of course, bringing a lot of media attention to the whole topic. They're also bringing a lot of traction to the whole subject. And what I think I just forgot to mention is that, since we have super professional returns with treasury companies, now, the comparison isn't 100% accurate, but if we say, okay, this works and the thesis with the treasury companies holds up, then it's kind of like not buying Bitcoin at 100,000, but maybe when it was still at 1, 2, 3 euros, or at 100 euros, or 1,000 euros, where the upside was, of course, much higher. But on the other hand, you also have to say that the risk is much higher as well. That means the risk-to-reward ratio is probably absolutely the best with Bitcoin. But if you really want maximum upside and are also okay with a disproportionately high risk, then treasury companies could, in some cases, be absolutely brilliant here. I mean, some people say it's an absolute no-brainer with treasury companies. I wouldn't go quite that far, but it's definitely a wild story that's unfolding here. I'll be reporting a lot more about these treasury companies in the future because I'm personally fascinated by what's happening, how you can use your balance sheet to play the fiat system, to pump up the Bitcoin price, and to channel all the capital, which otherwise can't do anything with Bitcoin, into the Bitcoin ecosystem. In my opinion, this is also an absolutely brilliant development, even though a lot of people are critical about it. I don't see anything to be critical about. I think it's an absolutely brilliant story. It's simply a consequence of adoption here, that sooner or later Wall Street, the big players, companies, corporations, and so on, will turn to Bitcoin. And now we have this major development that we actually have the investment advisor Copper Financials, worth $300 million, who is also saying that surpassing the $150,000 mark now seems increasingly inevitable. It's just a matter of time. And that's also exciting, because investment advisors are such an important part of Bitcoin adoption. If only individuals are pitching it, adoption will move forward very, very slowly. But if investment advisors are pitching it, things will move forward rapidly. And we're seeing that now. Fox News is now talking about investment advisors. Check this out, just how bullish this is.
That's all over the trillions of dollars in assets under management, and registered reps all over the country, financial advisors, can now put people in Bitcoin. We knew it was going to make it go up. We knew the Trump administration was basically friendly to crypto. This was such an inevitable move. That's why it's gone higher now. That's probably why it's going to continue to go higher, because Bank of America, for example, the biggest bank, has not yet made that decision, and they are bound to.
So she's talking about the investment advisors. Down here it's described again, but that's the wrong video. Here we go, here it is. Billions worth of financial advisors are now coming to Bitcoin. So it's not trillions in capital coming into Bitcoin here, but rather trillions in assets under management from financial advisors. So, indirectly, of course, that means trillions will flow into Bitcoin. And now we just need to understand. Many financial advisors, for example, have clients, they advise clients, and one might have 10 million in assets under management. Another might have 100, another a billion, another 100 million, and so on. And all these asset managers, collectively, are now slowly starting to pitch Bitcoin, bit by bit. And now they're saying, guys, don't just buy ETFs anymore, or maybe they're still saying, buy an ETF too, but also put a certain portion of Bitcoin into your portfolio. And a lot of people still don't want to manage their finances themselves. I always say, handle your finances yourself. Subscribe to the YouTube channel down below, go ahead, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Really make sure you take control of your own finances. A lot of people don't want to do that. They still want to outsource it. And this outsourcing, which hasn't really happened in the Bitcoin space until now, is now going to flow into Bitcoin as well. Normally, it always went into building savings contracts, broadly diversified ETFs, or some kind of financial insurance products, some derivatives, where most likely the insurance broker was the main one benefiting, and so on. And now, more and more of that is flowing into Bitcoin as well, and that's pretty intense. And now, here at Schwab Life, we actually have Les Bossy talking about a $500,000 Bitcoin price. Check this out. People are getting more and more bullish, and all of this is being broadcast more and more in the mainstream, on TV, and so on.
So we had a guest on the show on Tuesday who said that by the end of the year, he thought that Bitcoin would be worth $500,000. What do you think about that?
I mean, it very well could be just based on, the scarcity of the asset. 2140, we're not going to see it anymore.
Did you hear that? And he just says it so casually, not like, yeah, that can't be, no, of course it can happen. Because of scarcity, the limited supply and so on, it could easily happen. Now let's listen to what else he has to say.
These was 21 million. And, at the rate it's going now, I think it's been increasing at 100%, if not more a year. It very well could hit that number just based on the momentum. And, again, when we open up other financial markets, and this is a trusted asset class, I think you're going to see the number go.
Unless I have one.
So, quite simply, the number can easily go up, just if the momentum is there with Bitcoin. And what he also says, which is really important, unlocking new streams of capital. That's exactly what I meant. With the investment advisors, new streams of capital are coming to Bitcoin, but also with the strategy. Not the strategy companies. With the treasury companies, new streams of capital are coming to Bitcoin. So, for example, with Metaplanet, the Japanese stock market is getting more into Bitcoin with strategy than the US market. And, who else do we have? Blockchain Group, the French. Then we have Smarter Web Company. So now the UK is getting involved. And so, in every capital market, there are now more and more treasury companies. In Canada, there's a new company now. So these companies are popping up everywhere. And what's interesting is that these companies, sooner or later, if they gain traction and are well managed, will of course also be listed in indices like the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, and so on. That means even more capital will flow into the markets indirectly. And the next thing that will happen, but we're not there yet, is that these treasury companies will also develop into major Bitcoin banks. And perhaps Strategy could become the first big global Bitcoin bank. Of course, with the Bitcoin they own, they could potentially use it as collateral, take out loans against their Bitcoin, and do all sorts of crazy things. I mean, that's also risky. If you start taking out loans against your Bitcoin, you really have to be very, very careful. But there could be some really wild new business sectors emerging here, and I'm super curious to see what happens. That's why what's going on right now is just insanely wild. Anyone who's bearish right now could really end up on the wrong side of history. In the long run, it was never a good idea to short Bitcoin or bet against it. Sure, there are always small setbacks, but in the long term, it's just number go up. So go check out 20 and Bitcoin below. I'll put the link there, where you can buy Bitcoin easily, securely, and simply. With the code BitcoinHL, you can still get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. It's an absolute recommendation. 20 and Bitcoin, the easiest way to buy Bitcoin here in Germany or Europe. Absolutely recommended. Check it out. See you then. Peace out.